it's finally here. The Sony A7 Mark V. Now, half of you will be disappointed, but I think the other half of you will be very excited. Being the 5th iteration in Sony's mid-range lineup, the A7 Mark V is dangerously close to this $7,000 flagship camera for half the cost. As a proud A1 Mark II user, I'm low-key kinda mad about this. But hey, it's good news for you guys because you're getting the new 33 megapixel partially stacked sensor with integrated AI processing, 7.5 stop of in-body image stabilization, 2 new film looks, the 4-axis multi-angle LCD screen, pre-capture up to 30 frames per second, no blackout frames, and finally, 4K 60p. No crop. But we're gonna put an asterisk on that because there's a crop elsewhere. And other heaps of improvements that I think is worth upgrading for or get as a backup. And no, Michael, there is no open gate. The gate is closed. Huh? What was that? You're gonna switch to Canon now? Well, good for you. The door behind you is open. Get out.
Look and feel.
While the internal performance is vastly different, outer appearance-wise, it pretty much looks exactly the same as the previous A7 Mark IV. All the button placements are the same. There is the return of the double-decker mode dial. The grip is slightly different, but still very comfortable. And good riddance to the micro USB port because one peripheral upgrade we do get is a second USB-C port. The first one on top is dedicated for fast file transfer, and the new bottom one is for power delivery charging. Don't get them confused. The biggest upgrade, of course, is the 4-axis multi-angle LCD screen, literally the best thing since sliced bread. No more flip screen, no more tilt screen debate. You can tilt it, you can flip it, you can shut up now. The screen is now 3.2 inch in size, as you can see here, less bezels, with 2.1 million dot resolution, nearly double that of the previous model. But of course, in these harsh conditions, I can really appreciate the viewfinder. Oh yeah.
New film simulations.
Now we'll talk about the raw files soon enough because there's some crazy sorcery going on in there, but I want to share some great news to my fellow JPEG only shooters. Sony color science gets better and better every iteration, and just this year alone, Sony introduced 2 new film simulations that are honestly really good, and now they're available on the Sony A7 Mark V. As a part-time JPEG only shooter, I've been loving the FL1 and the new FL2 and FL3 color profiles. They just make landscapes, portraits, and street photography just look so damn good. Unedited straight out of camera, by the way. And I especially love how the reds are handled in the FL1 and FL3 profiles. This Audi shot right here is looking really good with Japan's autumn foliage. You ready? Maybe I should sound on that rock. It's higher.
Okay.
There you go. I think this is a very Chris Nichols Petapixel shot right here. How do I look, Jordan Vivian? Now, of course, the film simulation is not quite on par with Fujifilm and Ricoh. You know, I think they still have more and better options over there, but I'm quite happy with Sony's film simulation. I think they look really good, and hopefully they'll continue this trend for the other cameras, hopefully as a firmware update and not having to buy a brand new camera.
Pre-capture and speed boost.
Man, what the focus? I can't believe they added this because this feature alone makes it dangerously close to this $7,000 flagship camera for half the cost. Us A1 Mark II users are sweating balls right now. Because like the A1 Mark II, the A7 Mark V can do 30 frames per second electronic burst shutter with no blackout frame, allowing us to clock in on the action and not get a seizure from these distracting flashing black frames. And this is incredibly helpful for pre-capture, which is made for people like me with slow reaction times, because it'll save several photo frames just before the shutter is fully pressed, ensuring that we'll never miss any critical moment. All right, we're gonna go pre-capture some swans. It is a crisp morning, but we got a clear sighting of Mount Fuji in the distance. Let's put pre-capture and speed boost to the test. And we're specifically looking for things that have unpredictable and erratic movements to really demonstrate the power of pre-capture. And you'll never know when the birds will take off or spread its wings. There you go. Oh.
Did you get it?
I think so. So if you can wrap your head around this, this is when I press the shutter, and these are all the frames that the camera was capturing before that, up to 1 second. And this is my winning shot right here. Caw-caw, mother focus.
I don't think that's the sound a swan makes.
So as you can imagine, this is perfect for weddings, wildlife, bird, and sports photography because all the crucial moments always happen in less than a split second. I am a better photographer now thanks to today's technology. I guess you can call me a techographer. And the speed boost feature is nice because maybe you don't want to be bursting 30 frames per second. Maybe you primarily just want to be shooting 20 or even 10 frames per second. But when something catches you off guard, bam, you can activate speed boost, which I programmed to this button of my lens right here, and spray and pray and hope one of the 100 of raw images that you've captured is the shot that you need. Also, I should note that in order to maximize the 30 frames per second, you'll likely need to use Sony lenses. Third-party lenses like Sigma, Tamron, and Viltrox will likely be capped at 10 to 15 frames per second. Now, what's handy for when we're blasting down our shutter, we can program in divider frames to help us separate and sort out each burst sequences faster later. And I use and abuse all these pre-capture tools on my A1 Mark II, so I do feel right at home with the A7 Mark V. But I am still peeved. Now don't worry, fellow A1 Mark II users. I mean, I think we still have the bigger advantage here. I'm not trying to overcompensate or anything, but we have the front C5 button right here, so we can program that for our speed boost. We also have 8K. Yeah, 8K is more than 4K on this camera, and 51 megapixels, more than 33 megapixels. I mean, we still have the advantage here, right? Oh, who am I kidding? Why is the A7 Mark V so stacked? Come on, man, this is literally a baby A1 Mark II.
Or is it? This is when further research is needed. Having a split screen to compare the specs of the Sony A1 Mark II and Jason's review of the new camera, we can actually see which camera is right for us. Thanks to today's sponsor, Opera. Jason loves to make fun of me for having hundreds of tabs open. But every tab is a lead, a plan, or a problem that I'm solving. And thanks to Opera's Tab Island feature, I can group my tabs based on different themes or projects. This island is for all of the camera research. This island is for all of the finances that I'm managing. And this island is for all of our client communications.
And expanding and collapsing tabs helps.
Now it looks like I only have a few tabs open.
Something about your browser looks different today.
I can continue watching Jason's review by doing a video pop-up while I browse the web. It's just like in real life. I kind of just let him yap in the background.
So I was thinking about buying 2 of that new camera. You know, it has pre-capture and speed boost. It's really gonna elevate our game. For half the cost of the Sony A1 Mark II, I can get 2 of those cameras. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
But when I'm tired of him yapping, I can go to my music player that's built into Opera here and play some music.
I'll pop up a nice floating box so I can cycle through the songs, and it automatically pauses if I load up a different YouTube video.
And this is the
Also, I love that I can personalize the theme of my browser and pick something based on my mood. Ooh, this is cute. And Opera is free. We'll have a link in the description box below for you to check out and download. Thanks for listening. Now back to Jason yapping.
New photo modes.
Still 33 megapixels in full frame mode and 14 megapixels in APS-C mode. But Sony has 2 new photo modes to enhance our RAW files through composite shooting. The first new mode is Noise Reduction Composite, which allows us to shoot up to 32 raw images at a ridiculously high ISO and then later combine them in Sony's Imaging Edge desktop app, which is free by the way, to get a cleaner looking image. Unfortunately, the app is not ready during this review of the A7 Mark V, but it should work exactly how we demoed it in our A1 Mark II review. And the result is impressive. Damn, it's clean. The image on the left is the first of the 32 raw images shot at ISO 32000, and the one on the right is after we combine all 32 raw images. It's amazing how much details we can make out on the right versus the mushy, ugly grain on the left. This, of course, will be incredibly helpful for static subjects in a very dimly lit scenario. The second new mode is HDR Composite, where we can shoot a series of 4 to 32 raw images. Perfect for these bright signages, merge them together for a more evenly lit photo. And I know we could do this with bracketing, but there's a dedicated mode now that makes life just a little bit more easier. Again, we couldn't demo this during this review, but we are keen on revisiting this in our long-term review of the A7 Mark V in a few months. So subscribe and stay tuned.
Autofocus.
Sony autofocus is notoriously damn good, so we don't need to spend too much time here. It can auto-recognize human, animal, and bird eye along with insects, cars, trains, and planes in both photo and video mode. We have some new focus points, extra small, extra large, and a new customized focus area. And with a new Bion's XR2 processing engine, it can recognize subjects even further away now. See how the A7 Mark IV loses human detection autofocus as Vivian passes the halfway mark on this path? It's still doing a great job tracking her since she's very apparent in the frame, but check out the A7 Mark V. The human detection box is still on her even though she's much further away. Or maybe this will be a better example. A cute tiny little Kingfisher. Look at that focus, it's still getting its eye. Speaking of Kingfisher, we got this shot of one chilling in the red leaves and peek on him. Nothing to do with autofocus, I wrote this in just because we want to share with you this photo that we're very proud of. Okay, moving on now.
Closed gate.
Oh, Michael, you're still here. Well, I appreciate you watching my video and listening to what I have to say. Sorry for kicking you out earlier. If you want to rage in the comments about no open gate, go ahead, you have my permission now. Now for those of you with a full-time job and not perpetually online, the internet has been screaming how Canon, Nikon, Panasonic, Fujifilm, and hell, even Apple is winning because they're allowing users to shoot in open gate, which means the camera is recording the entire sensor, usually a square or close to square format, so there will be enough room for us to use the footage in either horizontal or vertical orientation. Perfect for pros who have to deliver in both because advertising on phone screens have been increasingly popular and open gate saves us from doing double the work, shooting horizontally, then vertically, or doing that awkward vertical crop from a horizontal footage. God, this vertical crop is just too close. Blah! I hate it. What's even worse is Canon and Nikon are starting to equip their mid-range cameras, the R6 Mark III and the ZR, to shoot raw videos, which means users can change the ISO and white balance cleanly in the edit. Arguably very handy. But is it necessary? Now, Sony is choosing to have their gates closed, and I've expected that. No way the A7 Mark V would get open gate or even raw video for that matter. At least not before the next A7S or the next FX camera. You know what I mean? Keep in mind, this is a mid-range camera. It's not meant to have the newest cutting-edge features until its bigger brothers do. And raw video is nice, but what's not nice is the insane file size that comes with it. In order for us to manipulate the ISO and white balance in post cleanly requires a lot of data. The new Canon R6 Mark III requires approximately 10 gigabytes per minute for a 7K 30p raw video. So if you want to shoot an hour's worth of footage, you're gonna need a little more than 600 gigabytes of memory. Yikes. For the pros of pros, you guys might not mind it, but most people wouldn't need this much power, nor even have the resources to handle this much power. Would it have been nice to have? Absolutely, but Sony decided to hold back. They'll do it someday once they're pressured enough to do so, but for now, the A7 Mark V does not and will not have any form of open gate RAW. Perhaps the A7 Mark VI, likely in 2028.
Video.
But we're still getting that nice 7K sensor downsampled into a 4K box, so we're getting crispier, juicier, sharper details, even in 4K 60p 10-bit 422. And let's freaking go! The 4K 60p no longer forces us into an APS-C crop. Freaking finally! It had never made sense to me why the A7 Mark IV, a full-frame camera, cannot shoot 4K 60p in full-frame mode. I've ranted about this before, so I am glad they rectified that in the A7 Mark V. However, that APS-C crop penalty got moved to 4K 120p. Now, I can only speak for myself. I think the APS-C crop for 4K 120 frames per second is fine. Bear in mind, any other camera that can do 4K 120 frames per second has a slight crop anyway, usually 1.2 times. But the A7 Mark V is a 1.5 times crop for 4K 120. Now, I don't really shoot 4K 120. In my opinion, the slow motion is too slow in 120 frames per second, so it's not a big deal this time around that the 4K 120 frames per second has a APS-C crop. But for those who do need 4K 120 frames per second, this might be a slight disappointment to you. Now, I don't quite understand yet why we have this new option, 4K angle of view priority. It says sets whether or not to widen the angle of view for recording by disabling a part of noise reduction processing when shooting 4K videos. So when on, I'm guessing we're getting the full 4K view, and when off, we're cropped in. Not an APS-C level crop, but some type of crop. And when it's off and cropped, the camera is doing some kind of noise reduction. So to test this out, I just cranked the ISO to 51,200 and filmed in the dark. When 4K angle of view priority is on, we do see a lot of dancing noise. Turning it off, the noise dots are not as sharp anymore. It's all smoothed out. Even the buildings here are looking softer. And I don't know about you, but I prefer the no noise reduction shot. Trying this out in the daytime with Mount Fuji, I really can't tell the difference when it's on or off besides the crop. So for now, I would rather just get an uncropped 4K image by leaving this feature on. I don't know, perhaps Gerald Undone will have the answer for us.
Don't do that.
Aside from that, we're getting LUT preview when we're filming an S-Log 3. Nice. 7.5 stop of in-body image stabilization. Double nice. Dynamic active stabilization. Triple nice. Now, even though dynamic active stabilization crops in tighter in exchange for a more stabilized footage, with the 7K sensor, we don't have to worry about a huge quality loss like we would see from cameras like the ZV-E1, which only has a 12 megapixel 4K sensor. And like the ZV-E1, this also has AI-based auto reframing, in which it will do a slow zoom in and out at a predetermined interval, which add a bit of production value for solo creators. It is baked into the footage. However, if you have an external recorder like an Atomos Ninja, then the Atomos Ninja can record the whole frame while the camera will record the reframe into your internal memory. That way you have both footage. Now personally, we don't use this, but hey, it's there. And rolling shutter in full frame video has been largely reduced. Okay, rolling shutter test. According to Sony, from 25 milliseconds to less than 10 milliseconds. Boy, it really makes you wonder why Sony didn't just wait for this camera to come out first before releasing the FX2. I mean, can you imagine the FX2 with these video specs? It would have slapped.
But is there overheating?
Of course, unlike the FX2, the A7 Mark V does not have a built-in fan, like all the other Alpha models. And like the latest Alpha models, it does have a unique Sony Sigma-shaped graphite heatsink built in for better heat dissipation. Go ahead, ask your kid what Sigma means.
Don't be too late or all the cute Sigma boys will be taken.
But overheating, your use case will vary depending on the climate and condition that you're shooting in, but in our test, the A7 Mark V never overheated nor showed a heat warning sign. Both 4K 24 and 4K 60 10-bit 422 SI filled two 128GB cards with some battery left over. With 4K 24 10-bit 422 HS, it lasted 2 hours and 53 minutes. 4K 60p 10-bit 422 HS lasted 1 hour 54 minutes, both juicing out the battery but never overheated. And with 4K 120 10-bit 422 HS, it filled both 128GB cards in 1 hour and 46 minutes with 6% battery left. Again, your conditions will vary, but these are impressive results.
Audio.
So I'm talking next to a coffee grinder right now, and as far as I know, this is the first time that Sony's introducing a noise reference microphone, which does the noise reduction in camera for you. So let me just enable that for you so you can hear the difference. Now, to be clear, this is not the same visual noise that we were talking about earlier. This is sound noise.
That's right, Jason.
And it works whether you're using the onboard microphone, yuck, or external microphones.
Price, and should you get it?
So the body-only price will be $28.99. Man, I really miss the days when the A7 Mark III was just $19.99 at launch. But times have changed, and even things outside of the camera world is going up in price, and economic uncertainty is a bitch. So the cost of the A7 Mark V honestly isn't much of a surprise to me. And if we consider this is literally half the cost of the A1 Mark II for nearly all the same features, then this thing is a whopping steal in comparison. And honestly, pre-capture is an incredible feature, a powerful upgrade, but not something that many people would need outside of weddings, events, wildlife, and sports photography. One single frame result arguably is going to be very similar to the previous A7 Mark IV. So if you're just taking one frame at a time and you're happy with the A7 Mark IV, then there's no need to upgrade. The true upgrade lies in the overall user experience. 4K 60p no crop, real-time LUT preview, better autofocus, and of course,
The 4-axis multi-angle LCD screen.
God, I love doing that. Are you guys getting this? Let me know in the comments down below. See you guys in the next video. Peace.
This gate is closed.